This is how you legally slow down your time. Now, what do I mean by slowing down time? See, when we were a child, think back to your old self, like a decade ago. What was time like for you? Let's go back to 2012 when you were a little kid. Maybe you weren't a little kid, but you still experienced time being slowed down. Not like the same time that we have right now. It wasn't like this. Now the world is super fast paced to the point where days go by so quickly, and heck, even weeks go by so quickly. And when we actually stop, look back and reflect how much time has passed, months and years have gone by, and we couldn't even fathom where that time went. If we aren't journaling or documenting each day, now when we look back at times, we it seems like that it has gone by so quickly, like there's some glitch in the matrix that wasn't present in the past. Like, why do you think when we were kids, or when we were decade a decade ago, when we were living our lives, why was it that time seemed to be slowed down? Why was it that when we actually look back, when we think and reminisce of our past, let's say we go back to 2010, 2012, why was time super slowed down? Why is it that when we remember the day, a single day felt like a month? Why was it? Let me break that down to you and also explain to you why that happened, but also how we can actually slow down our current era. Like, literally slow down time just for us, while the entire world is still fast paced, trying to figure out where their time is going. Let me tell you why first, why it is happening. See, the obvious thing is scrolling. Fast dopaminergic content, high dopamine in everything that we do. Like, literally everything is designed to be fast paced, so we're moving quickly and we're advancing quickly as a nation, right? But the thing is, the same thing, the very thing that is designed to make us advance quickly, is also designed in a way where we're actually advancing towards our own death. We're advancing towards our own decline. Think about it. When we're scrolling our time away. We're scrolling all the time away, thinking that we've learned something, thinking that we as a whole have made all of these technologies, and we're living in this bubble, in this modern day and age. But when we think about our individual lives, we aren't even progressing. If we take a graph, the graph would be in a decline. It would have a sharp decline when it comes to our creativity, our thinking, our logical thinking, our rationale. All of it is going down the drain, all thanks to scrolling and all the technical advancements. We click on Uber, we get an Uber. We don't even have to go walk somewhere, get a public transport. We simply get an Uber. Heck, now even the public transport is gonna take the shape of, oh, super quick, like we have like this quick travel in video games. It would be similar to that. The entire world is now designing to advance further, to progress as a nation, to progress quickly. But the more we're focusing on these advancements on quickly, or how can we transform quickly, the more we're declining quickly. This is the irony. Now, with scrolling, what our brain does at that time, and why actually we tend to sit for 5 minutes. This is a depiction of Instagram that I've made. I know it looks like a terrible children's drawing, but it drives a point home, and that is exactly what the point is. When we scroll on social media, we give our brain, we say to our brain, okay, I'm just sitting for 5 minutes to relax. We're thinking in terms of time. We're actually giving ourselves something that is bounding us to time. We say that when we start scrolling, heck, 2 to 3 hours have passed, and the same time that we wanted to save is now away from us, away from our very own grasp. We can't tap into that wasted past time. Now, what scrolling is doing is actually, let's see what the brain part. This is a brain, and this is the right brain and the left brain. Boom. What is happening when we're scrolling? Now, I know that you might know what happens. Oh, I get this dopamine. Oh, I get this urge, this rush of positive, energetic protons and electrons in my brain. They fire up and I wanted to scroll more and more until I waste so much time. But that isn't what I'm trying to explain right now. When I say what happens to the brain, what I mean by it is that when we tend to scroll, notice what happens. Yes, sure, we get this positive dopamine and we release all these toxins, but what causes all of this to happen in the first place? What is that origin point? What is that trigger that causes all of this? Our eyes. When image gets into our eyes, then it is processed by the brain, and then the entire conjunction of stuff happens, and then we lose time, we decline, we regret it when we're going to sleep, and then it's a decline. But it all starts from the eye, from looking. Literally by looking. We go to social media apps, we look at the profile, look at the profile picture, the username, the images, and the caption, and then the comments. Heck, some of the comments are so funny. We just go on the reels and then just to look at the comments because they're so funny. But what are we doing? We're looking at the comments. We are looking. Now notice, we aren't just looking, we aren't just viewing, we are literally skimming. Now what I mean by this is, there's one thing called looking. Imagine you looking at something without any social media, right? Imagine you don't have any access to the internet. You live in a desert. There's no signals, there's no gadgets, no technology. Now, when you're looking at something, it is different than when you're looking on these social media apps. What I'm trying to say is that our sight has become short-sighted, and we're not looking, we're skimming. Let me give you another example. When we read, when we go to the process of reading, what ends up happening is that we tend to skim so many parts. So if we were to read any news, like let's say a newspaper, this is my depiction of a terrible newspaper, but this is how we read it. In today's news, we saw thanks. This is what we saw. Like, this is literally what we saw when we opened up a newspaper. This is what we see. This is how our brain is now. We aren't even reading properly. We're just skimming past stuff. And that skimming, in true essence, is what causes our short attention span. Is what causes our brain to actually rot. Literally rotting of the brain. So social media, okay, all the dopamine, all the response that it gets, but what is the medium? The eyes, when we go through the act of looking. But when we actually look with a short attention span, when we actually skim past stuff, notice how many times you just skim past stuff. You're literally scrolling not even looking, you half looking, like half looking at the images, half looking at the comments, and just going by, just passing along like you've read some sort of stuff, got the gist of it, and moved on with life. This is what we're doing, and then all the brain rotting comes in, and then our time is being wasted just because of short-sightedness or short looking sessions. Are you getting the gist of it? So in order to control it, we need to control how we're looking at things. If we're reading anything, notice how many times you actually skim past stuff. Even if there's an article, first of all, we're too lazy to even look at an entire article. We're like, if there's no image, heck, shoo away. Article, go away. Why? Because we're so in tune to looking at images and also then looking at reels, like videos. So now we're craving images and videos. So our brain is now shrinking in a way where it's not literally shrinking, but it's metaphorically shrinking because of our ability to look and perceive. And we've made this a standard that we need to look at the images and the videos. Heck, if we're looking at videos like for days and days straight, like on repeat, we're just watching reels, YouTube shorts, Facebook reels, Instagram reels. We're just looking at My cat is also looking at me, trying to tell me something. Now I am looking at the cat. I'm doing the very act of looking. Anyways, my cat wanted a little bit of relocation in the house. Said it was too warm. But anyways, what was I even saying? Let me remember for a moment. Skimming and not reading entirely is the root cause of everything. Take anything for example. Why do you think after scrolling social media for like 30 minutes, you can't even sit to watch a 5-minute long YouTube video without any edits, music, or montage in it? Why is it? Because you're craving so much of that images, videos, and so much text that you can just skim. So you can just skim past stuff. And with edited videos, with like Mr. Beast type of content, with so much cuts, so many images, videos merged together after every 3 to 5 seconds, like you're a Cocomelon children looking at the screen, being enjoyed by the colors, enjoying the saturation of the video, enjoying the fast cuts of the video. Why is it? Because you're so in tune to look at images after 3 to 5 seconds. You're so in tune to these jump cuts. Social media acts like a jump cut machine. You're jumping after every 3 to 5 to 6 seconds. You're jumping from one content to another. That's why you can't even sit to watch a 5-minute long video. Heck, you can't even sit to watch a Netflix show if it's like 30 to 45 minutes. Why? Because you think like, oh, it's a slow burner, oh, it's way too slow for you, and you're just scrolling past Instagram when the first 5 seconds of the entire episode is being built up. Now, I'm not condoning, I'm not saying to watch like TV shows. I abstain from TV shows because of how weird they are. Because it's like I start thinking about how the protagonist has to do something. I start going into the rabbit holes, search of more theories. If it's like theory based, if it's an open-ended TV show, I start looking at the behind the scenes. I get obsessed when I look at or watch any TV show or movies. So I have to actually stop myself from watching them. So I only stick to like YouTube videos, educational or even entertainment ones, but YouTube is the only go-to for me. But I've noticed even in myself, when I use social media, when I am scrolling, and when I'm just in this hyper state, like hyper state, and it's like I've just taken a hit of the white powder, even though I haven't even tried it, I haven't even looked at it, not even kidding. But it's the same thing. It gives you this drug effect where you're just constantly looking and your pupil is so dilated, and you're just on to another one. Oh, give me another. It's the same thing when you drink a lot of coffee. The pupils dilate. Why is it that the pupils dilate? The act of looking changes after you've consumed a drug or even caffeine. The act of looking is the first trigger. Nobody tells you the trigger point. People tell you, oh, but the dopamine, oh, but this is why it happens. And they tell about all the consequences that come later. But what is that trigger that initiates all of these responses in the first place? Looking. Now it sounds kind of weird, but the pupil thing. Why does the pupil contract when you have like all these drugs, when you actually go through so much dopaminergic content? It is because you're hypersensitive to each movement. Now, any movement you're just jittery, you're just looking around constantly without even fixating your eye for even a second. You're just hopping your eyes around. Notice, after 3-hour long session of scrolling, what happens to your body? I want you to literally have a 3-hour long session. Anytime you actually go down that hole, the dangerous scrolling hole, and you feel guilty, don't feel guilty, but actually observe what your entire body is feeling. I've observed it, and I have noticed that I am all jittery, and I can't even place or fixate my eye on anything more than like 2 to 3 seconds. I glance over things and I glance back to another. My eyes are darting, they're running, they're flying away like laser beams, but they're not in a fixed position at all, anywhere in that near damn second. If my eyes were pointed lasers and I could visibly see my eyes pointing to some direction, and I could map out the things I am looking at, you would and if I fixate on any object, then that laser beam would actually heat up. Then imagine this. Try to picture all of this. I have my eyes, they are pointed lasers, and this is the real laser, not just a pointing laser, but the real laser, that if it is fixated on anything, it has the ability to heat up and then cause kind of like this circle, which upon more fixated action will become larger and larger. So if I look at something, it could leave a mark, but if I keep looking at something, it would leave a bigger mark, and that mark would expand and expand until I keep on looking at it. Now, imagine after I've scrolled. Let me tell you what happens, what I've observed. If there was a chart where you could see my movement, you could see the entire thing, if it's expanding or it's not, if it's leaving a mark or it's not, I can guarantee you that my eyes wouldn't even cause a mark that is this big, let alone this big. If that mark would only be kind of like this dot, and it wouldn't even be this large, let alone this large. What I'm trying to say is, my eyes and your eyes, after having this dopaminergic scrolling session, literally doesn't lock up or lock in at a certain target. and just darts off. This is the danger that we have. Not the dopamine, but the act of looking. And if this entire rut, this decline of humanity, this lack of time, this huge regret is caused by looking, it is also fixable, solvable by looking the other way. Not saying looking the other way, but I'm saying is looking intentionally in a different way. Now let me give you an analogy before I move on to this point. See, as we were in the hunting era, let's say this is a spear and this is an animal that we used to hunt, and this is us. We're throwing the spear and we're charging towards it. Spartan, and I have an axe. Boom. Warrior shit. Imagine our ancestral being. Let's travel back to time. And let's go back to our era where we actually had to hunt animals. Now, notice what happened. How did we actually find the animals? By looking. The process of hunting animals started by looking. Literally, by looking. And notice what happened at that time. We used to have so large attention spans that we used to look at targets for literally minutes. Not even saying 30 seconds. Even today, if I say 30 seconds to anybody, to hold their eye contact with somebody or something for 30 seconds, you're going to have a panic attack. But they used to hold eye contact. Like literally, they used to fixate their eyes on the target, on the prey, for minutes. It involved the act of looking. And we had this thing that we are fixated on a target and we need to achieve that. And it happened by looking. And I can show you that our pupils were damn well not contracted. It expanded. They were expanded because when the pupils expand, it carries light into our own brain. The more the pupil is expanded, the more light comes in, the more information we're gathering, the better the response is, because we actually have good data, like accurate, large enough data to actually let our body initiate a response. It is the exact opposite of what happens when we're scrolling. When we're scrolling, we're looking at everything. If there even is an animal that comes up to hunt us, like a bear comes up, we're just looking away. We're just looking at the leaves. If a leaf falls, we're looking at that. That's how messed up our focus gets just because of our looking. We're just looking sporadically. But I've noticed one thing. Even when I am high in dopamine, like literally indoctrinated, injected with so much dopamine after this session of scrolling, I've noticed to cut away this thing. I've tried dopamine detox, and the withdrawals are so crazy. I'm just craving dopamine. I'm just craving just a screen to look at, and it's terrible. And I relapse back to it. That's why I dislike dopamine detox, to just abandon all devices, all dopamine, or even people say don't even talk to anybody. Cut social ties in the dopamine detox. Like literally go inside of a dark cave, to expel all the dopamine waste that you've gathered all this time. But I am kind of against that, because it gives you these drastic effects and you get these withdrawals, and it takes like a month to expel it out of your system. If not a month, then a week or two. But what I've come up with a strategy that has helped me tons, and it has been more effective than any dopamine detox that I've done. It is the act of intentional looking. Literally, when I am infused, when I am overflowing with dopamine, what I did was I looked intentionally and I slowed my sight. Now let me explain what I'm trying to say and what I did. What I did was I literally looked at something for 3 seconds or 5 seconds or even 6 or 7 seconds before I moved on to look at something else. And my brain went silent. You will be so surprised to find the peace just through looking intentionally. I want you to look at this pupil. Look at it. Take your time. Keep looking at it. And now you look at this clock. And keep your eyes, stick to the clock. 5, 6, even 7 seconds. Then move on to another thing. I cannot stress this enough, that this discovery alone is responsible for silencing my mind, for giving me the peace after high dopamine content, after overflowing dopamine, which I didn't even know how to expel out from my body. Look, I'm doing this right now, and I can feel the effects. Notice, if it starts with the eyes, then it has to end with the eyes as well. Now, the second step, after looking intentionally and slowing things down, is actually look at your room. Look at the spots in your room that you haven't looked in for like months. I can't tell you how many times I've overlooked little things, little items placed in my room, and I'm like, when did that come here? Was it like this the entire time? How forgetful or how unaware was I to not even notice a few items placed on my room, but not even notice a few changes being happened in my room. And when I look back at my childhood self, I used to look at things so intentionally. And I used to be curious about things. I would even look at the corners of the door. I would look at the wooden panels on the wall. I would even look at like measly stuff. Like I would look at the ground and notice if the tiles had patterns. I'd look at the patterns. If I went somewhere and they had like these luxurious carpets, I would literally spend 10 to 15 minutes looking at the entire nooks and crannies of that carpet, trying to formulate something, trying to come up with some creative ideas, what that shape might resemble, if I can see a face in that weird carpet. And then I used to touch it, if I can feel the material of the carpet, is it satisfying to touch or not. But notice how we're actually absorbing the atmosphere now when we're intentionally looking. And the entire premise or entire idea of this video came right after I went to the barber for my haircut. Now, there's something strange I noticed when he was cutting my hair. I noticed he had a TV right in front of me, like in the room. And when I looked at the TV, there wasn't any YouTube. There wasn't any Netflix. He was using cable TV. Literally, in this era, it's so rare to have somebody watch cable TV. I don't know if you watch it or not, but it was so weird. I felt like I went 10 years back in time. Why? Because I saw the guy Actually, after I saw the guy who was sitting in the barbershop, he was watching TV, and there wasn't anything on the TV but except for ads. Literally, there were ads running, and he was watching the ads. And then I started watching the TV, and guess what? I was fixated looking at the ads. Literally, I was enjoying ads because of how slow our brain was back in the days. Like we used to wait for anything to appear on TV, like the favorite cartoon, favorite TV show, favorite movie. If it was playing on TV, we had to wait if the ads came. Like literally, there were repeated ads that I would even memorize. They were repeating so much that I used to memorize those ads. But then the fulfillment after like 10 ads have shown up, you actually get to watch the movie. And that feeling, that satisfying feeling after waiting like 10 ads, just waiting and looking at everything in those ads, every detail, maybe the film, the cinematography, maybe how the objects are placed. If there's a Coca-Cola ad, how good the sound design is. Like looking at the actors in that ad, in those ads, how the music is composed, like literally seeing little nooks and crannies, little details now that we miss. And guess what? It felt like hours have gone by after those ads have finished and the movie have started, or the drama or the TV show started. Literally, this is how you slow down time. You need to start by looking intentionally, looking for 6 to 7 seconds, fixating your eyes on something. Literally, look at things intentionally, and then focus on the details. What details can you have? Can you see? What nooks and crannies are you missing? Start observing the things, and you'll notice how quickly your life starts to slow down. And I'm not saying in a bad way. It doesn't slow down like you're being sluggish, like it's super boring and how time has been slowed down and you can't wait for tomorrow to appear. No, I'm saying it as like in a way where you're adding time to your life, where days aren't going by, but you're actually enjoying those days, where you're actually multiplying time. The illusion of time will actually stretch for you so much that you'll think, I can get this done, I can get that done. I have so much time during the day. I can get so many things done, which I was thinking about doing the entire week or weeks, and I can do it in a single day. Literally, the horizon of time, the timeline, the illusion of time will have so many spaces in between. But if you continue with the scrolling, it would be like this chunk, and this chunk is gone. Now you can have the entire timeline. What happens by looking? So 6 to 7 seconds, look, fixate your eyes onto something, even if it's like your door handle, your PC setup, even you locking your phone and just looking at the screen. Have you noticed how the corners of your phone are? Have you noticed how dirty your phone has become? Like when I used to have a time where I didn't have internet, and my internet connection was lost, and I didn't have, everybody else had internet, but I didn't have internet, and I was waiting for the connection to come back on. I did this complaint. I wanted them to come and fix the issue. I also didn't have like mobile data, didn't have the data as well on my phone. So it was kind of like Stone Age, because now what do I do now? I don't have games on my phone. Don't have I did, but they weren't as enjoyable. And the same thing was with the games on my PC. Now, what do I do instead? And guess what happened? Time seemed to slow down. Time stretched so much. I was thinking, what else do I do? I played chess with my brother. I played card games with my brother. What else do I do? I have so much time. I have done so many things, but only this much time has been passed. I have this much time left. What do I do instead? Oh, let me actually work out. Oh, let me actually go out and actually play soccer. Let me actually do something. And time kept expanding and expanding. It also means when you're reading, now this is a key. When you're reading something, read it entirely. You're reading books, you read them entirely. You don't skim through anything. Even if you're reducing your social media time, you do it by reading entire posts, reading the comments entirely. Each comment, pay attention to each single comment. Like, give your 5 to 10 seconds to a single comment, even if it's as short as saying, oh, he couldn't make it, not gonna lie. Just read it clearly and intentionally. You'll see that your brain will start to slow down just when you start reading slowly as well. So the act of looking involves, fixating your eyes, but also when you're reading anything, you read it entirely, word for word. People have this competition of, I can read these many words per minute, I can read 250 words per minute. They're flexing all these things. But I had this guy where he was reading posts so quickly, and I didn't have my phone, or I didn't have the internet, so he had the internet, and he had like cool posts on social media. So I was peering towards him, and he wasn't like no stranger. He was my classmate or something. I don't remember exactly, but when I looked at his phone and he was just skimming through the content, he was skimming through posts. He was reading so quickly. And I was like, wait, go back to it. And he looked at me and he said, oh, you couldn't even read it quickly? And I felt guilty at the moment, at that time. Now when I look back 3 to 5 years ago, I felt kind of stupid for not reading things quickly. But now I realize that the most amount of brain rot comes when you read things quickly. It's not a flex to read things so fast, 250, 300 words per minute. It's not a flex. The flex is to read intentionally, even in this time. And the real flex comes where you slow down time, where you actually have so much time in a day, where everybody else is just roaming around, fast-paced life, and thinking where the time went. You have this entire horizon of timeline being extended for you. And even then, after completing so many things, you don't even know what else to do. But for them, it's like, zoop, and it's finished. It goes away so quickly. Heck, it's not even like this. It's actually like this. So their timeline is this much, and you have this extended timeline. Because time is relative. What time is for you is not for anybody else. Even if you live in the same house, even your roommates, you don't get to experience the same time as your roommate. This is just a fact. I mean, this is a theory, by the way, the theory of relativity, but this is how we tend to experience things. And now, actionable items. If you're in the dopamine rut, start by changing how you look, because everything starts. The brain rot starts from looking, so it also is solvable by looking. 6 to 7 seconds, fixate it at a point, then move to another thing, fixate, move to another, fixate, 6 to 7 seconds. If you can do that 4 to 5 seconds at max. Then the other thing is reading. Start reading things intentionally. Start slowing down your time. Literally start thinking. If you're hooked, I would suggest not to give up social media immediately, but to taper it down slowly, bit by bit. And start by reading the captions, looking at the profile picture, looking at the images, looking at the comments, and you'll find your brain actually slow down to the point where you'll be like, it'll be evident to you to go on two paths. Either speed things up because it's getting boring, or just stop using social media and watch YouTube or something else instead. Literally, I've experienced this. When I slow down, my brain is like, what are you even doing? There's no point. We're not getting any satisfaction from it. Just give up social media. Let's just give up Instagram, move to something else. Or my brain just says, oh, there's no point. We're not satisfying any needs here. There's no itch that is being satisfying right now. So let's just ramp it up. Let's just increase the pace a little bit, just so we can enjoy things. It's getting boring here. These are the two choices that it literally pops up in my brain because of how boring and dull it gets. This is how you win without any dopamine detox. You slow down time. You win